Inner glass engravings with a UV laser. So this video is really going to explore all kinds of different possibilities for engraving inside glass, inside K9 crystal. Lots of applications that you can see here, a lot more that we're going to show. There's going to be tips and tricks, where to find the materials, a little bit about the machine, all kinds of good stuff. Use the timestamps if you want to skip on around. Here you have it, inner glass engraving with UV lasers. So first off, what is really going on? Quick overview. We got glass. Now this is a specific type of glass. This is not acrylic. This is not plastic. It's called K9 crystal. We'll talk more about that and where to source it later, costs and all that. But you take a platform. This particular one is the xTool F2 Ultra UV. Talked about it a lot on my channel. This comes with it. You put the platform in, you swap out to a different lens, place it, and then you run the software. Software's super easy, intuitive. We'll get into the software actually later in the video, some free files, some tips there. But really, it doesn't take too long. Some projects, just a couple of minutes. Some projects, obviously more involved. If you're gonna be using the software to do some of your own rendering, it can take a little bit longer. There's a lot of parameters, but the longest project I've had was an hour and a half for a lot of detail, but this is not a 5 to 10 hours. This is a pretty quick process. But first, we're just gonna show inner engraving with these rectangular prisms. Then we'll jump into some spheres and then other applications as well. So it really is simple to get up and running. Later in the video, we'll show that software and show you how easy it is to take really any image and convert it, not having to use other websites or programs. Just really quickly, you're just up and running. And so whether it's a cool dragon or a landmark like the Space Needle here, pretty awesome and straightforward. Obviously I have the lid removed just for better video, but with the laser you do want to have that protective lens down. Normal operation, but for video purposes I do have it up. Lots of safety precautions here on the F2 Ultra UV. Totoro! So here you can see that I don't need glasses because I have that shield down. Really, I don't believe there's too much, smells or anything, but just as a precaution, yeah, you can have the purifier running. In normal, applications, you would always have the purifier running or a inline fan. But yeah, it's pretty cool and pretty remarkable what you can do. You can really play around with all the files. Later, we'll talk about outlining versus solid fill, and then just the time impact for that on the software, but pretty cool what you can see here. Just a ton of possible ideas. Now, of course, these cool little light displays, they do help add that cool effect. Lots of different ones. I'll link some of the ones that I used down below. But whether it's, cool full-size lion, that's pretty cool. You could add text in here. You could do a lot more. We'll talk about sales ideas and more possibilities. But this is really just showing you what the machine can do and what this tech is able to do. We can do a whole, a bust of a head. I mean, obviously you could do, famous faces as well. I think the lions and the dragons are pretty cool. Yeah, you get a feel for it. But that light really helps, makes everything pop a little bit more. This one had a lot more color contrast for the original file, so it converted a little bit more. And yeah, a little bit of Matrix, little Neo with the Matrix falling around. My son finally got to watch it, so I played around with that a bit. I don't know, there's just some cool things you can do with it. So it's not just, cool, 3D prints type stuff, little tchotchkes or whatever for your desk, although that's cool. There's actually a lot more sales ideas, but just kind of showing some of the things you can do. But we'll jump more into the spheres right now. So that's the rectangular prisms. Now we're going to talk about the spheres. So if I'm going to do a globe or a glass ball, again, make sure it's K9 crystal. I even ordered some on Amazon that said K9 and they weren't. I tried the whole process, nothing happened. So you got to make sure, we'll talk more about sourcing later, make sure it is really K9 crystal. Now there's a lot more science to this. I'm not going to get deep into the science. There's plenty of other videos that talk about this. I think even on xTool's website they get into it. But here we can't just plop this here on a stand. It's just not going to work. And so instead we got to find a cylinder and you have to use an oil. Now the oil is going to deflect. There's a lot of science. I'm not going to try and say that I understand. Big idea. You take a container, you put in item, and then you can have spacers. Now xTool is actually gonna come out with a kit. It's really slick. It's almost like a canning jar opener where you can slide it in and out. It kind of rests in place. For me, I didn't have that yet. So I took this, I put in the ball, and then I added, this is just some aluminum, some little brass, and I just cut this, have different spacers to kind of keep it balanced. And then you use an oil. Now xTool did send me an oil. I haven't used this one yet, but they recommended a paraffin oil. So this was a citronella paraffin oil, so it totally smelled like a citronella candle. And I just used this oil and just make sure it covers the top. And then you operate like normal. Then you're just measuring the height. There's an adjustment in the software, really simple. But to do spheres, you need a container. All right, this is about an 80 millimeter sphere. So I got, this is about a 100 millimeter width, goes in, spacers. But again, look for that kit from xTool. That's gonna make things so much simpler. I'm looking forward to that. But DIY kits, totally doable. You just have to have the oil and then you progress like here. So here's that process, just putting it in the cylinder, and then again, those spacers are just kind of holding in place so it doesn't move around. That does pose a problem if you're doing this approach as far as getting everything centered. Then you want to add that oil just to make sure it covers the top, just enough to cover the top. And then you do have grid lines on the piece itself, and then you have grid lines in the software. And so really using that to get everything centered will get you a lot better results. My first couple ones weren't as centered. I had perfect centered results on the last two with this tree of life and the dragon head here. That's just because I really paid attention to where it was on the little tray with the markings on the grid, as well as in the software. These ones were probably a little too big. I really wanted to maximize them and make them look really big, but I think it kind of, negates some of the cool effects. But here you can see in the solar system, I didn't get those centered. Still looks cool, but they weren't perfectly centered because I didn't pay attention to those grid lines. So there's a lot more tips and tricks that we're gonna get into, some sales ideas, where to source the blanks. So let's actually talk about that. So this is kind of new, these UV lasers. There's a couple companies that have come out with UV lasers already, and they kind of have their own blanks, but it's not as widespread to get these K9 crystal blanks. Now that xTool has come out, usually what happens is a lot of other competitors, other laser companies come out with UV lasers. Pretty soon, it's gonna be a lot easier to find these crystal blanks. Of course, you can go to xTool's website. I know that they're gonna get those in stock soon. However, they do get pricey, right? And so for me, I first got this machine. I was one of the early testers and I needed to get access to it. So two main sources, Alibaba and AliExpress. That's where I went. I had done some shopping on Temu before. It was different, right? It's not like going to Amazon. So it was a little bit daunting. These are not sponsored at all. It's just where I went. Alibaba is like just a bunch of manufacturers who just mass produce a bunch of things, and like it's a little bit different, but it's actually on the up and up, and everything I got through Alibaba, I'll link some of the ones I got, no issues with them. All of them work great. You get a much better discount. You just have to buy in bulk. And so quite a few of these, I had to buy 30 at a time. Like these beautiful, these are awesome. I really want to do a lot more jewelry in the future. This is K9 crystal. We got facets. I had to buy 50 at a time, and so I got a variety. The ornament blanks. I actually found some on Etsy on these bigger ones, but really, you're gonna want to go to one of those wholesalers. At least for right now, as this is filmed end of December 2025. In the future, probably just go to xTool's website. But again, you gotta make sure that it is K9 crystal, so don't buy a massive order, unless you know for sure. Some of them came in nice packaging. Some of them were just like all wrapped in newspaper, and it was like, I hope these work. But I was actually pretty fortunate, pretty lucky. This is what I really wanna get into is these plaques. So you can see this one right here. I don't have it backlit as much, but whether you're just surface engraving, this is just surface engraving. This machine, this is the laser you want to engrave glass. Any other machine, you'd have to do like a diode or a CO2 laser. You'd have to do a marking spray or paint. You don't have to do that here. So you can actually just engrave directly on the glass. That looks really sharp. I did that with these. Looks really clean. But if you want to get that inner engraving, you can see here on this one, looks awesome. You kind of have to catch the light just right. I'm still working on my settings for that 2.5D converting a photo. We'll show that later in the software, how to convert a photo to a 3D image. But that's cool, right? So thinking of, obviously awards are great, having someone's face, but memorial plaques, I think, would be a great application for that sales. It's a higher end look because it's 3D and you really can see that 3D effect. So as far as sourcing, yeah, overseas, gonna have to check that out. If you have any other sources where you can find these blanks, good quality blanks, drop it in the comments for others in the community to see here. I'll update in future videos if I find better sources, but just gotta make sure it is K9 crystal glass and reputable. Try and see if there's some comments from folks, but some cool applications with that. Here's some of those lockets. So this is really cool to do the family portraits. This would be a great one for, you know, a family photo. You know, it could be a loved one as an anniversary gift. Obviously, any birthday or holiday. Here, you know, grandma and grandpa with the grandkids. Fun little one. Here, you can see that's that 2.5D. I will show this a little bit more in the software, how to get this effect. Pretty cool. Here we're at the ornament. So you could obviously do that with all the different necklaces, but you can do this with the ornaments. Ornaments are a great idea. This particular one, I got great contrast with the settings. The software just converted it. Really, really cool. And it really looks lifelike in 3D. And it's a really cool effect. It's not etched on the outside or the back side. It is interior engraving. Here with those lockets, you can really see that. So you can see here, so many possibilities, right? A new pet, gonna get a new mini Bernedoodle. Oh, Rivet, you're so cute. You can do all kinds of little possibilities. Here's, again, those cool different little necklaces. You can see lots of cool blanks. So a lot more possibilities than just the prisms. This is actually something that xTool sent me, so I'm assuming they're gonna start carrying this in the future. Blanks like this, like I mentioned, I'll talk about this with the software. You really gotta kind of test out a little bit more with your dotting when you convert a photo to a 2.5D to get a little bit more contrast. You can get it to pop out a lot more than what I'm showing here, but it still looks awesome, right? And when it catches the light just so, it looks really, really cool. So that's, you know, the necklaces, the ornaments. Well, here's that big plaque, and I think these are the showstoppers, and I think this is where you can get really premium orders from companies, or, you know, for loved ones, for making those different plaques. So I started by getting it flat, and I gave all the measurements. Now you see those grid lines there? I'm pretty sure that's the limitations of, you know, let's see, like 70 millimeters by 70 millimeters. So I started by doing the dog kind of in the far left, and I saw where it was at. Then I did the text, and then you can see the blue tape. You can see the feet of the dog in the far left. I used the blue tape to kind of mark off where I didn't want to engrave. And then I looked at the guidelines on the machine and then on the software to get it just where I wanted. And so I was able to do something bigger, even though I believe the inner engraving is limited to that 70 by 70. So pretty simple to do. Great results. So again, this is not surface engraving. You can't quite see because of the facets. This isn't surface engraving. It's inner, right? You can't quite tell, but it really does give that 3D effect. Again, like I mentioned, that when you convert the photo to the 2.5D, there's a little bit more to play around with, but I think this is awesome. I think this turned out really great. Obviously, you could have a light on it for even more results, but there's a lot more to it with these plaques. This is what surface engraving would look like. I showed this in my full video that has a lot more on what this UV machine. It is just amazing for glass. And so here, this is just surface engraving on the top. I could have done the inverse on the back, but it really stands out. There's no paint. This was way quicker, super simple. So there's a lot more to be done. So you can see some other sales ideas. Obviously, this is a really cool hobby project, but this is an expensive item. Most folks who are getting one of these, they want to use it for business. And so I think, you know, obviously trophies, awards, great. That is a great place, you know, for schools, organizations, clubs, you know, cities, you know, city council, fire departments, police departments. I think the memorial ones, again, another great one. You know, Valentine's coming up. Of course, the necklaces, the keepsakes, a lot more than a locket. And it's really 3D and it's unique. It's very unique. Ornaments, If you haven't been to my channel, I make a lot of ornaments and a lot of style. They're my favorite thing to make, and honestly, year-round making those, really, really popular, really popular around the holidays. So even if you're watching this not during, the Christmas season, ornaments are always popular. I have seen some folks make medals out of these. You could take an ornament blank and use it as a medal. I don't know necessarily. And of course, you got your pop culture kind of little desk items. These are one-offs. I don't personally think you're going to make a lot of sales for those. And obviously, you can't do intellectual property or license like, Totoro. I couldn't sell that or other things. But landmarks, that would be cool. I think really where this comes into play for sales is personalized. Personalized with family portraits, family images, pets especially. So those are some more sales ideas. Any other ideas you want to jump in, share with the community, drop in the comments, hopefully help others out. Ideas. Just so many applications, but now let's jump into the software and show how easy it is.
So right now, I want to show you the software and to show you how simple it really is. If you're new to xTool, crazy, easy, intuitive. So here you can see I do have an image that it's already actually xTool rendered this. Some cool stuff. So I can just start a new file. Let's just go ahead and pretend like we're going from scratch here. Some quick tips in here. But you go in, all right, we're going to do F2 Ultra, UV, and automatically it's going to let you know we're doing the inner engraving. And so it's just going to automatically do it. I want to click inner engraving, and it's going to tell me exactly what to do. Hey, that little thing, make sure you put it here. It's walking you through. And then you're going to just enter your measurements. So most of the blanks that I was using were about 50 millimeters by 50 millimeters by 80 millimeters. So like those tall ones, we'll use that as an example. Just leave it blank set. And most of the time, this thing, I'm just going to leave it there. And honestly, very few times did I change that at all. Really simple. So you just leave it as is, leave everything as is. And then I want to throw in an image. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this. You can find files online, like a 3D printed file, STL files. That still makes it really easy. You can actually, take other images and you can just give them a prompt, and you can go to the fast mode. The general, this one is the one I did most of the time. There's also a portrait mode, but I'll just show you, a past one. Let's go with this one. And so I said, create a highly detailed, well, actually, I didn't even say that. I just went down here and I added an image. Let's say, yeah, let's say we want to do Kermit the Frog, right? So I want to put it in Kermit the Frog. Oh, well, that's, IP. Sure, we're not going to sell that. And then I would just click right here and I would pick my style. I usually went with general. It takes about 9 minutes to render this, and then you just hit, and then it goes, and then you get something that's great. That's fantastic. So this is that dragon head that I did earlier for the round sphere, and so this is how I did it. I just gave them an image. I said use this image as, that's all I did. I didn't even enter a prompt, and then it automatically gave me that. And so here's some other ones, I did the lion. I mean, so many other ones that you can see. Here's anyway, I did the Matrix one in here. All kinds of, this was a fun one. The lion head. Anyway, and you can just kind of play around with that for AI, and then you're just good to go. You do want to make sure you have the material set. I haven't messed around with settings. I just use their stock settings and I've gotten great results. And then I just do an outline engraving. Now you can do a solid engraving. It's going to take longer. There's a little bit more, but everything you saw in the video, everything I've done was outline engraving. I didn't do any solid engraving. Then you just process and then you're good to go. Now let's say I don't want to, oh yeah, and moving it around, if you're not familiar with 3D, 3D printers, it's really easy to move around, to scale it. Sometimes I would want to max it out. Like if this is 50 millimeters, let's say I want to make it a little bit bigger. Let's say I said 50, so let's say it's 45. That's great. And then I'm going to center it on the material. All right, so there you can see I don't want to actually go that far. If you get too close to the edge, you might get some cracking. So, you can see in some of my projects, I maxed out the size. You don't need to go too crazy, but it's going to tell you at some point if you make it too big, hey, you're Like let's say I tried to run it here. It's not in the grid of where it's supposed to be. So it's gonna say, yeah, element is placed out of processing area. So you just have to move it. You got some great. So again, if you're not familiar with 3D printers, you have some quick reference points, or you can just click the mouse or the touchpad to move it around. Cool, easy, simple. If I wanted to do an image, this is the other thing. That is great. So you saw this dog earlier. Let's go here. Let's find another image. Let's hunt through my files. How exciting. Let's do this one. What a sweet boy. It's a couple years ago, Orcas Island. My little guy. All right, so you can see we got a background. There's lots of colors. Now, I have this image. I'm going to go to edit. Now, if it's not a high quality image, you can do AI enhance first, but we're just going to go 3D photo, and then I can adjust this. So this is something I do need to play around with more, because you saw some of my images weren't as crisp and some were really great. That Ornaments, that Baby's First Christmas, that one was amazing. So this is something I do want to play around with a little bit more. But I want texture and I want to remove the background. It does take credits. You know, you get credits are really, really cheap. If you make a purchase, you get them. And it's great because you don't have to use other software. It's just all built in here. You don't have to go elsewhere and learn other things. It's just really intuitive. So it's going to generate. This does take a little bit of time, but you're going to get great results. So let's just speed up to when it's done. Okay, that took like 5 seconds. So you can see what it does is it's doing 2.5. If I turned this into full 3D, it would do some weird stuff, but this is how we got that depth. So on the back side, it's going to look like, anyway, we got depth. It has removed everything, and it's great. So you can see here, it's a little bit pixelated, the dotting. So, I could play around with that. But again, this is the image. So let's say I want this to be, if I wanted to rotate it and go here, I could, that's fun. Let's just go 90. That's fun. All right, we get the idea. And then I can make it bigger, but that's how you do the 2.5D. I'm struggling with the rotating, but you get the idea. So this is great for those little lockets, doing things like that. And I can move it back and forth. So that's how you do it. Pretty simple. I definitely had a couple blanks that I just used for testing. So that's something you're going to want to do, especially when you're messing around with a 2.5D. Don't use an expensive, $15, $20 blank right away. Lots of files, lots of other files out there. In almost all of my videos, I talk about this website. Not trying to be salesy, but if you're in lasers and you're trying to do files, Creative Fabrica is my favorite site. Use it all the time. Now, they don't have as many 3D printing, but these are all STL files that you could just test out right away. But it's not just that. It's also like any kind of, your PNGs, your SVGs, all your different designs for surface engraving, for cutting. Probably if you've seen any of my videos, you'll see the applications and where I get these projects from. Normally, Etsy, it's about like this file is $3. This file is $2. This file is $4. Well, Creative Fabrica, it's $4 a month for unlimited downloads. If you want to just check it out, use my link down below. 10 free downloads before paying anything. I use this, again, like I usually say, about 100 files a month. I just use this all the time. It's great to explore, and you don't have to pay extra. So unlimited downloads, and it's not just the images, the SVGs, the STLs. It's also all the cool fonts. There's so many different fonts out here, and so definitely check that out. Link down below for more on that. What else do you want to see with the software? What do you want to learn? Drop it in the comments, and we can incorporate it in future videos.
All right, folks, almost done talking about lots of tips and tricks, but I do want to talk about this machine. I really tried to not make this video an ad. A lot of what I share does apply to other UV lasers. But if you've seen my channel, I do a lot of laser projects, other things too, but I work with all the xTool machines, and I've chosen to work with them exclusively because of all their R&D, their systems, just everything works. It just works without issues. They have US customer service now. Now they've expanded their European customer service. But this machine has so much in it. And of course, it's got the free software, the easy software you just saw, But there's a lot more this machine can do. This video was focusing on the inner engravings of glass, but you can see other projects. This machine stands out from every other laser I've worked with, specifically for glass, leather, and if you want intricate engravings. So if you want intricate engravings in wood, other materials, clean cuts without burning, this is your machine. I got a very in-depth, my longest video I've ever done as far as reviewing a machine, testing out hundreds of things. You can check that video to really learn about this machine. It's expensive, right? This is no joke. It is an investment. So I really want folks to make an informed decision before purchasing it. From working with all the lasers, this is the best for engraving. There's just nothing like it. If you want to work with glass, no doubt, this is your machine. If you want to do fast, we got the conveyor, all that. So check out that other video. Pretty remarkable machine. And honestly, this is the first one where I'm really considering buying a second one just so I can do multiple applications. Because a lot of the other lasers I go to, I'm like, I don't want to do it here. I just get such better results for engraving. Now for cutting, yes, it cuts clean. Leather, this is my machine. If I'm going to cut big stuff, it's still going to be the P3, but this thing is awesome. If you're interested in buying it, honestly, watch that video, learn more, weigh it all out. If you do, consider using our affiliate link. I make these videos to share with the community, but yeah, I'm able to support my family by making these videos. This video wasn't sponsored in the sense that I get extra for it, but if you do purchase this machine, if you use our affiliate link, we do get a small commission and it helps support my family. Just check it out. Just check it out. Links down below, or you can use this affiliate link to learn about the machine. They have kind of the comparison between other machines, what you're looking at. But this is remarkable. It is definitely my favorite laser. This along with the P3. These two are incredible. And if you want to do metal, they have 2 Ultra. If you want to do metal, that's your machine. But awesome. It's amazing. Check it out. And if you're still watching, if you're new, if you haven't seen our channel, it was woodwork, and now there's just so many cool maker tools that really, in the last 2 years, I've shown a lot of these new maker tools, and really not just a product review, but showing you a vast variety of applications, whether it's sales or just creativity. And so a lot more projects are coming, a lot more project videos, so look for that. But you can check out the other videos, yeah, reviewing machines, but it's a lot more how you can use the machine, tips and tricks. If there's something you're looking for with this one in particular, with the UV, drop a comment down below and I'll try and integrate it. I want to make some more videos with this UV, just some really cool new things that we can do with this technology. Well, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope it added value. And take care. Until next time.